It's a quiet Tuesday afternoon. Your cat stretches lazily on the windowsill, bathing in the golden sunlight. In the corner of your living room sits a beautiful potted plant, its leaves vibrant and green, its flowers delicate and colorful. Everything seems perfect, peaceful, safe. But what you don't know, what thousands of pet owners discover too late, is that this innocent-looking plant is slowly becoming a ticking time bomb in your home. One curious nibble, one playful swat of a paw, one moment of boredom while you're away at work. That's all it takes. Within hours, your beloved companion could be fighting for their life, vomiting, seizing, their organs shutting down one by one, and you'll be standing in an emergency veterinary clinic at 3 in the morning, wondering how something so beautiful could cause so much devastation. Today, we're counting down 15 of the most dangerous plants that millions of people keep in their homes without realizing the deadly risk they pose to their pets. Some of these plants can destroy kidneys with a single petal, others can stop a heart in minutes. And the most terrifying part? You probably have at least one of them right now. Let's begin. Number 15. Water hemlock. Water hemlock isn't a houseplant, and it's not something you'd intentionally plant in your garden. But if you live near wetlands, creeks, marshes, or even drainage ditches, this plant could be growing nearby, and it's considered one of the most violently toxic plants in North America. The roots contain secutotoxin, a compound that attacks the central nervous system with terrifying speed. Here's how fast this works. A dog running off leash near a creek digs up and chews on what looks like an ordinary root. Within 15 to 30 minutes, that dog begins drooling uncontrollably. Then come the dilated pupils, the tremors, and then violent seizures that don't stop. Owners describe it as watching their healthy, happy dog transform into a creature they don't recognize. The seizures are continuous, powerful, and horrifying to witness. Death can occur within an hour from respiratory failure as the body seizes without pause. There is no antidote for water hemlock poisoning. Veterinarians can attempt to control seizures with medication and support breathing, but even with aggressive emergency care, many animals don't survive. Those that do may suffer permanent neurological damage. The absolute worst part is how quickly everything happens. One moment your dog is enjoying a hike, the next moment you're racing toward the nearest emergency clinic, knowing that every second counts, and even that might not be enough. Number 14. Yew. Yew trees and shrubs are everywhere. Those elegant evergreen hedges lining suburban driveways, the foundation plantings around office buildings, the ornamental trees in parks. They look sophisticated, they require minimal maintenance, and they stay green year-round. That's why landscapers love them. But here's what most people don't know. Every part of the yew plant contains taxine alkaloids, compounds so powerfully toxic that they can cause cardiac arrest in dogs within an hour or two of ingestion. This isn't a slow poisoning that gives you time to react. This is rapid, brutal, and often fatal. Picture this scenario. It happens more often than anyone wants to admit. A dog is playing in the backyard on a beautiful Saturday morning. The owner steps inside to answer a phone call. 5 minutes pass, maybe 10. When they return to check on their dog, they find their pet collapsed on the grass, barely breathing. Panic sets in. They rush to the emergency vet, but by the time they arrive, it's often too late. The dog's heart has stopped. Investigation reveals yew clippings in the dog's mouth. The neighbor had trimmed their hedge the day before, and a few branches had blown into the yard. Those fresh clippings looked appealing. The dog took a few exploratory chews, and that was enough. What makes yew particularly insidious is that death can occur before other symptoms even develop. There might be some vomiting, there might be weakness, but often the first sign that something is catastrophically wrong is sudden collapse. The toxins attack the heart's electrical system directly, causing arrhythmias so severe that the heart simply stops beating effectively. Even if a dog reaches veterinary care quickly, the prognosis is grim. U poisoning is one of those scenarios where prevention is literally the only protection because treatment options are desperately limited. Number 13. Pothos. Pothos might be the single most ubiquitous houseplant in existence. Also called devil's ivy, these trailing plants with their variegated green and yellow leaves are literally everywhere. Offices, apartments, dorm rooms, bathrooms, kitchens, anywhere humans need a plant that refuses to die, pothos is there. The plant contains calcium oxalate crystals, microscopic needle-like structures that when chewed penetrate the soft tissues of the mouth, tongue, and throat. The result is immediate, intense pain. Cats are particularly prone to pothos poisoning because those dangling vines are positioned at exactly the right height for a cat to bat, grab, and bite. The cat chews a leaf. Within seconds, the calcium oxalate crystals are released. The cat's mouth explodes in pain. Drooling begins immediately. The cat paws desperately at its face. It can't understand what's happening or why its mouth suddenly feels like it's on fire. The swelling can be severe. In small animals, significant swelling of the tongue and throat can actually interfere with breathing, turning what seemed like a moderate poisoning into a genuine emergency. Veterinary poison control centers receive calls about pothos exposures daily. The scenario is always similar. Cat chewed the hanging plant, dog ate some trailing leaves, the pet is now drooling, pawing at its mouth, refusing to eat or drink comfortably. What makes pothos particularly frustrating is that it's seen as the ultimate beginner plant, the plant you can't kill, the plant that requires zero effort. So people who have never successfully kept a plant alive buy pothos, and if they have pets, they've just introduced a constant source of potential toxicity into their home. The suffering it causes isn't usually life-threatening, but watching your cat or dog in obvious pain, drooling uncontrollably, unable to eat or drink comfortably, is distressing for both the animal and the owner, and it's completely preventable.
Number 12. Peace lily. The name is beautifully ironic. There's nothing peaceful about what a peace lily does to a pet's mouth. Spathiphyllum plants are sold everywhere. Home decor stores market them as air-purifying, low-maintenance, elegant additions to any room. They produce those distinctive white sprays that people mistake for flowers. They tolerate low light and irregular watering. They seem perfect. And they contain the same calcium oxalate crystals as pothos. A bored indoor cat sees a plant within reach. The cat takes a few experimental nibbles because cats nibble plants, it's what they do. The calcium oxalate crystals are released instantly. Pain floods the cat's mouth. The drooling begins, the pawing, the obvious distress. Peace lilies are particularly common in bedrooms and living rooms, often placed on nightstands or coffee tables where they're easily accessible to curious pets. Many pet owners have peace lilies without any idea they're toxic. The marketing never mentions it, the care instructions don't warn you, and so the plant sits there looking peaceful and harmless until a pet decides to investigate. Most exposures result in moderate symptoms that eventually resolve, but the acute distress is real. And in small pets, the risk of severe swelling that could compromise breathing makes even this common houseplant poisoning something that requires vigilance. The peaceful plant that's actually causing chaos in households across the country. Number 11. Dieffenbachia. Dieffenbachia, commonly called dumb cane, is another extremely popular houseplant. Those large, tropical-looking leaves with their distinctive patterns make any space feel lush and exotic. The plant tolerates low light and requires minimal care. The common name, dumb cane, comes from what happens if a human bites into it. The calcium oxalate crystals cause such severe oral swelling and pain that the person temporarily loses the ability to speak. They're struck dumb. In pets, the effect is the same, minus the speech concern. But the pain, the swelling, the drooling, the pawing at the face, all of that happens with frightening intensity.
What makes Dieffenbachia particularly dangerous is that if a pet persists in chewing despite the pain, or if a small pet eats a significant amount, the swelling can become severe enough to interfere with breathing. The tongue swells grotesquely, the throat tissue becomes inflamed and enlarged, and suddenly you're not dealing with a painful inconvenience, you're dealing with airway obstruction. Small dogs and cats are at highest risk because even moderate swelling is more dangerous in a small mouth and throat. Documented cases exist of pets requiring emergency veterinary treatment with IV fluids, anti-inflammatory medications, and pain control just to manage Dieffenbachia poisoning. The decorative houseplant that's actually a torture device for curious mouths. Number 10. Daffodil. Daffodils are probably the most iconic spring flower. Those cheerful yellow blooms popping up after winter are beloved symbols of renewal. But Narcissus species contain toxic alkaloids concentrated heavily in the bulbs, and dogs love to dig up bulbs. The scenario plays out in yards across the country every fall and spring. A homeowner plants 50 or 100 daffodil bulbs. The family dog observes the process. Later, curiosity wins. The dog returns to the planting area and investigates. Digging ensues, bulbs are discovered and chewed. The toxicity causes severe gastrointestinal distress, violent vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain, excessive drooling. In serious cases where multiple bulbs were consumed, there can be cardiac effects, low blood pressure, tremors, even seizures. Most dogs who eat 1 or 2 daffodil bulbs and receive prompt veterinary care will recover fully, but the acute illness is severe enough that emergency treatment is necessary, and larger ingestions can be serious or even fatal. What makes daffodils particularly problematic is how common they are and how many are typically planted at once. 100 daffodil bulbs scattered across a yard equals 100 potential toxic exposures, and dogs have an almost supernatural ability to find the exact things they shouldn't have. Veterinary emergency clinics see daffodil poisoning cases every single fall during bulb planting season, and every spring when dogs might disturb established plantings or when bulbs might get dug up accidentally during yard work. The spring flower that's actually a buried landmine waiting for a curious nose. Number 9. Autumn crocus. Autumn crocus is where the severity level jumps dramatically. This isn't a plant that causes uncomfortable symptoms or even serious but usually survivable illness. This is a plant that can kill a large dog after eating just a few bites, causing multi-organ failure so severe that even intensive emergency treatment often fails. Colchicum autumnale contains colchicine, a toxin that disrupts cell division throughout the body. The cells that divide most rapidly, those in the bone marrow, gastrointestinal tract, liver, and kidneys, are hit hardest. The result is a catastrophic systemic damage. The symptoms develop in phases. Initially, within hours, there's severe gastrointestinal upset, vomiting and diarrhea, often bloody. But that's just the beginning. Over the next 24 to 72 hours, the real devastation emerges. Bone marrow suppression means the body stops producing blood cells. Liver damage progresses. Kidney function fails. Respiratory problems develop. Cardiac issues emerge. It's a multi-organ collapse, and the mortality rate is extremely high. Even with intensive veterinary care, hospitalization, IV fluids, anti-nausea medications, and supportive treatment, many pets don't survive autumn crocus poisoning. And those that survive often have permanent organ damage requiring lifelong management. Autumn crocus looks innocent, small purple flowers that bloom in fall, often naturalized in lawns and gardens. The bulbs are the most toxic part, but all parts of the plant are dangerous. Dogs who dig up bulbs are at highest risk, but even eating flowers or leaves can cause toxicity. Documented veterinary cases describe the progression. A dog eats part of an autumn crocus plant. Within hours, severe vomiting begins. The owner brings the dog to the vet. Initial treatment seems to help, but then the dog's condition deteriorates. Blood work shows crashing blood cell counts, failing organs. Despite aggressive treatment, the dog dies within days. This is not a plant you want anywhere near your property if you have pets.
Number 8. Rhododendron. Rhododendrons are essentially large azaleas. Same family, same toxins, same devastating effects. But because rhododendrons grow much larger, forming massive shrubs and hedges, pets have even more opportunity to encounter them. Rhododendron species contain granulotoxins that cause severe gastrointestinal symptoms combined with cardiac and neurological effects. A dog playing in a yard with rhododendron hedges gets bored, starts chewing on the lowest branches. Within hours, the vomiting begins, the drooling, the weakness. The owner rushes the dog to the vet. The vet asks what the dog might have gotten into. Just playing in the yard, the owner says. Further questioning reveals the rhododendron hedge. There's the answer. What makes rhododendrons particularly problematic is that they're such a standard landscaping choice. They provide year-round greenery, they screen views, they create privacy barriers. People plant them without thinking twice, but for pet owners, especially dog owners, they're a constant threat. Treatment is supportive. Prompt veterinary care, IV fluids, monitoring of cardiac function. Most pets recover if treated quickly, but severe cases can be fatal. And even in survivable cases, the stress, fear, and expense of emergency veterinary care is significant. Rhododendrons became a landscaping standard for the same reasons azaleas did. They're attractive, evergreen, and relatively low maintenance, but they're fundamentally incompatible with pets, especially dogs who have outdoor access. The foundation planting that's actually laying the groundwork for disaster. Number 7. Azalea. Azaleas are everywhere. Those spring-blooming shrubs that produce masses of vibrant flowers in every color imaginable are foundational plants in American landscaping. They're beautiful, they thrive in acidic soil, and they're members of the rhododendron family, which means they contain granulotoxins. Here's what makes azaleas particularly dangerous. It doesn't take much. A few leaves can cause severe symptoms: drooling, vomiting, diarrhea. But beyond the gastrointestinal effects, granulotoxins affect the heart and nervous system. Pets can develop abnormal heart rhythms, weakness, tremors, seizures, and collapse. The toxicity is dose-dependent, but the point is, these aren't plants that require massive consumption to cause serious illness. A small dog eating several azalea leaves is in genuine danger. Veterinary emergency records document numerous azalea poisoning cases, especially in spring when new growth is most appealing and when dogs might be more active outdoors. Dogs chew on azalea branches while playing. Pets eat fallen flowers. Animals browse the foliage out of boredom. The clinical picture is consistent: gastrointestinal upset followed by potential cardiac and neurologic effects. Treatment is supportive and depends on severity. Mild cases might recover with basic care. Severe cases with cardiac arrhythmias require hospitalization and intensive monitoring. Azaleas became ubiquitous in gardens because they're spectacular in bloom and relatively easy to grow in the right conditions, but they're fundamentally incompatible with pets, especially dogs who have outdoor access. The foundation planting that's actually laying the groundwork for disaster. Number 6. Foxglove. Foxglove is a cottage garden classic. Those tall, dramatic spires covered in tubular flowers are beloved by gardeners and pollinators. The flowers come in shades of purple, pink, white, and yellow, creating stunning vertical elements in garden designs. And Digitalis purpurea is the source of the heart medication Digitalis. In controlled, tiny doses, it helps regulate certain cardiac conditions in humans. In uncontrolled doses that occur when a pet chews leaves or flowers, it's poison. Foxglove contains cardiac glycosides that interfere with heart rhythm. After ingestion, initial symptoms include gastrointestinal upset, vomiting, diarrhea.
But then the cardiac effects begin. Abnormal heart rhythms, irregular heartbeat, potentially fatal arrhythmias. The heart's electrical conducting system is disrupted. In severe cases, the heart simply stops beating effectively. Dogs are more likely to ingest foxglove than cats because dogs are less discriminating about what they chew. Documented cases include dogs who ate foxglove plants in gardens, puppies who played with and chewed fallen flowers, and pets who ingested the plant out of boredom during unsupervised outdoor time. The clinical picture is consistent: gastrointestinal upset followed by potential cardiac and neurologic effects. Treatment is supportive and depends on severity. Mild cases might recover with basic care. Severe cases with cardiac arrhythmias require hospitalization and intensive monitoring. Foxglove became a garden staple because it's beautiful, attracts pollinators, and fits traditional garden aesthetics perfectly. But admiring it in public gardens is fine. Growing it where your pets can reach it is not. The charming flower that's secretly an old-fashioned poison. Number 5. Castor bean. Castor bean plants contain ricin, one of the most powerful poisons in the world. The seeds of Ricinus communis are highly toxic and can be deadly if chewed by dogs. If the seed coat is broken, ricin is released and absorbed into the body. It stops cells from producing essential proteins, leading to severe vomiting, bloody diarrhea, seizures, and organ failure. Even 1 or 2 chewed seeds can be fatal, and there is no specific antidote. Although the plant is grown for its dramatic tropical look, it is extremely dangerous for homes with pets. Number 4. Oleander. Oleander is a common ornamental shrub with beautiful pink, white, or red flowers, often planted in warm climates. However, every part of the plant is highly toxic to pets. It contains cardiac glycosides that can cause dangerous and sometimes fatal heart rhythm disturbances. Early symptoms include drooling, vomiting, and diarrhea, followed by irregular or slowed heartbeats. Even small amounts can be deadly, and treatment requires urgent veterinary care. For pet owners, oleander is an extremely dangerous plant and should not be kept where animals live or visit. Number 3. Sago palm. Sago palms are extremely toxic and can kill dogs, cats, and other pets, but dogs are most often affected. All parts of the plant are poisonous, especially the seeds, which contain a toxin that causes severe liver failure. Dogs may dig up and eat the seeds, and symptoms like vomiting and bloody diarrhea can appear within hours. Liver failure follows quickly, and the progression can be shockingly fast. Even with emergency treatment, the survival rate is low, with a mortality rate of 50 to 75%. Sago palms are popular because of their tropical look and easy care, but for pet owners, they're one of the most dangerous plants to keep. Number 2. Daylilies. You might think daylilies are safer than true lilies, but that's dangerously wrong. Hemerocallis species, the common orange and yellow flowers seen in many gardens, are causing severe kidney failure in cats. All parts of the plant, flowers, buds, and leaves, are toxic. Symptoms like vomiting and lethargy can appear within hours, followed by rapid kidney damage. Even with emergency treatment, some cats die or suffer permanent kidney problems. Because daylilies are common outdoor landscaping plants, many pet owners don't realize the risk. For homes with outdoor cats or indoor cats that might escape, even one bite can be fatal.
Number 1. True lilies. We've reached the most dangerous plant on this list. For cat owners, true lilies aren't just toxic, they're catastrophically dangerous in a way that almost nothing else is. We're talking about Easter lilies, tiger lilies, Asiatic lilies, and other members of the Lilium family. And here's what makes them absolutely terrifying. Even the tiniest exposure can trigger acute kidney failure in cats. We're not talking about eating a bunch of leaves. We're talking about a cat brushing against the flower and getting pollen on their fur, then grooming themselves. We're talking about drinking water from a vase that held lilies. We're talking about nibbling a single petal. The mechanism is devastating. Within hours of exposure, toxins in true lilies destroy the cells in a cat's kidneys. The cat may seem fine initially, maybe a little lethargic, maybe showing mild vomiting, but within 12 to 24 hours, kidney damage is progressing rapidly. By 24 to 72 hours, complete kidney failure can occur, and without immediate aggressive veterinary treatment, many cats don't survive. Veterinary toxicology reports document case after case of cats dying from lily exposure. A cat smelling a bouquet, a kitten toying with fallen stamens, a cat walking across a table where lily pollen had fallen. These aren't hypothetical scenarios. These are real emergency room cases that ended in tragedy. The flowers are gorgeous, which is why they're so popular in floral arrangements, especially around Easter and Mother's Day. Florists and nurseries don't always warn customers about the danger to cats. The plants are beautiful, they're traditional, they're everywhere. But for cat owners, they're a death sentence waiting to happen. If you have cats, you cannot have true lilies in your home, period. Not in vases, not in gardens where cats roam, nowhere. The risk is simply too high and the consequences too severe. Think of them as the beautiful stranger who smiles at your cat while hiding a knife behind their back. So, here we are. 15 plants, 15 dangers hiding in plain sight. The living room corner, the windowsill, the backyard hedge, the spring garden. Places we've decorated and landscaped without a second thought. Places that seemed safe, even beautiful, until we learned what these plants can do. The scariest part isn't that these plants are rare or exotic, it's that they're everywhere. They're in homes across the country right now. They're in yards where pets play. They're given as gifts with the best intentions. They're sold with no warning labels, positioned right next to pet supplies in stores. Most pet owners never imagine that the colorful flowers brightening their home or the lush greenery cascading from a hanging basket could be the thing that steals away their beloved companion. But it happens. Every single day, somewhere, a pet is suffering because of a plant their owner didn't know was dangerous. This isn't about living in fear. It's about living with awareness. It's about understanding that beauty can mask danger, that common doesn't mean safe, that the plants society has normalized in our homes and gardens aren't always appropriate when we share those spaces with animals who depend on us for their safety. Check your home tonight. Walk through your yard this weekend. Look at what's on your shelves, what's hanging from your ceiling, what's planted along your foundation, and ask yourself one simple question. Is this plant worth the risk? Because no flower, no matter how beautiful, no landscaping choice, no matter how traditional, is worth the life of the animal who trusts you to keep them safe. The choice is yours, but now at least, it's an informed one.